What do you do for people? Say it for those that are tuning in, that want to grow their business. What do you do for people?
The business is called Link Daddy. I try to help businesses actually get found on the internet so that they get more customers. That's essentially what we do. Blogs, press releases, this type of thing, and link back to people's websites or their Google Maps to then help them rank higher in the search engines, so that when people go to Google or Google Maps and type in a keyword, then those businesses have a better chance of being found.
For blogs, press releases, for those that are unfamiliar with those would you give a quick snapshot for those that, like some of those that are trying to grow and scale a business? They understand relationships, they understand sales, they understand leadership, the services, the products, they even understand finances, but marketing might be something that they're very aware of. Could you help people understand what a blog, what a press release does, and then how that helps their local business? Josiah, have you ever thought about doing steroids?
Yes.
Yeah. Why would you even want to use steroids?
I don't know. I kind of want to look big. I kind of want to look like you.
This is all natural. No, it's hard to believe. Okay. But why do people get in trouble for using steroids?
Because they get caught.
They get caught. Yeah, they get caught. But they also get a distinct advantage over those who are natural, who's just doing the game. Today on our show, we have a guest that gives our home service businesses and those that are trying to grow their business steroids on their business, a distinct advantage that ends up helping their business grow. There's been times where I've punched in our service like Brown's pressure washing or on, you might need to trim this, but there's been times where I've searched on Google Maps and I noticed that there's other businesses that are in front of my businesses. Well, the guy we have on the show is the reason why those companies get seen and I don't.
Oh.
And so by inviting this individual to help you grow your local SEOs, you'll end up scaling the charts on your local maps.
He's like an unseen weapon.
He's an unseen weapon, and he does an incredible job and incredible work. We're super excited to be able to introduce him to our community today. But before we get into that, let's go ahead and let everyone know what our show is about.
Welcome to the community, the podcast devoted to home service businesses who desire to make an impact while making an income. Each week, we will hear real stories of individuals who decide to do it their way and start a business.
Yeah, and today's guest is a friend that I met maybe about 1.5 years, 2 years ago when I was trying to figure out how to grow Brown's pressure washing inside the Nashville market. And when he showed me what he was able to do, I was like, I need to have Tony on our side. And he's with what's called Link Daddy. He's going to share a lot about what his business can do for you. And then we're also going to learn a little bit about who he is and why he does what he does and how he makes an impact while making an income. But before we bring him into the show, if you have any questions today, if there's anything that you need prayer for, do put it inside the notes. We'll make sure that we'll partner up with you as well. We're also missing our friend today, Brady. Brady, unfortunately, had a child born like Gyra. You're supposed to make some type of joke. But,
I'm just waiting.
Okay. Tongue-tied. And so children get born and they end up having their mouths tied shut. And sometimes they don't catch it in the hospital. And by the time you get home, your child's like grumpy. If you think it's bad, it's worse than what you think it is, because that baby is screaming all day, all night long, and you're not sleeping. And then when you're not sleeping, your wife is upset. It's a bad deal. So he's getting rushed, his tongue-tied taken care of with lasers, and then we'll have like different exercises. Wow. So we'll be missing him today. We'll also be in prayer for him today. But
for sure,
let's go ahead and start off the show, and let's open this up and give it to the Lord. So Father, we thank you for life on this planet. We recognize that every moment and every day is a gift from you. I thank you for allowing us to be in a relationship and a conversation with Tony today. Father, I pray it would be an encouragement to both him and also to those in our community. Help us know how best that we can use our lives to make an impact while making an income. It's in Christ's name I pray. And everyone said,
amen.
Without further ado, let's go ahead and let Tony in the room. Tony, what's going on, my man?
How you going?
Yeah, welcome. Where are you visiting us from today?
At the moment, I'm actually in Johannesburg in South Africa.
Man, that's incredible.
That's cool.
Yeah, and is that where you live?
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah. I mean, it is
Okay.
where I'm living right now. I've lived in other places around the world, but right now, this is where I am. It's, we're coming into summer here. The birds are chirping. The weather's nice. Beautiful thunderstorms, amazing sunsets. It's very beautiful here.
Yeah, I can only imagine. Josiah, have you ever been to Africa?
I have not, but it's on the list.
I think it's on the list. Yeah.
Yeah, it's got to be on your bucket list, especially Kruger Park,
And Tony, where all have you lived?
Well, I was born in Brisbane, in Queensland, in Australia. And then when I was 18, I actually left home and traveled around Australia and did door to door selling all around the country. And then I ended up in Perth in Western Australia, and I lived there for 20 plus years. Then I moved to Russia and lived there for 10 years. And then I've kind of, in between getting visas, I lived in the Ukraine for a little while. I've been living here in South Africa. I've been living in Dubai. I've been to quite a few different places in the world.
Awesome.
Wow.
If you could only pick out one spot to live the rest of your days, where would you live out of all those spots that you have lived?
Oh, that is a really good question. I don't think I can honestly answer that question because there's more places that I want to visit before I would make a decision about where would I want to spend the rest of my days.
Well, I'll let.
Yeah. The funny thing is like you see all these pictures about this place and that place, and you get all these gurus, promoting the idea that you've got to be living the life and laying back on the beach and all that kind of stuff. But the truth is, when I've tried that, I'm bored out of my head.
That's so good.
And I think it's a false idea. I think the people, production equals morale. When you're working hard, and you're producing something valuable, that's when you feel the most. If you want to meet the devil, then just do nothing for 3 hours and the devil will certainly arrive.
Yeah, so good. And so we found a little bit about where you've lived, but we haven't really found out a lot about who you are. And so, Tony, if someone were to ask and just say, hey, tell me about yourself, how would you respond?
I would say that I'm a man learning how to handle life.
Are you married, children, family background?
Yep. I don't have any children. I have been married for 11 years, which is partly the reason why I went to Russia. Like I said, I grew up in Australia. I traveled around. I kind of got mixed up with some wrong people, got into drugs, got into alcohol, and got into all the wrong side of things. But I realized that I was I wasn't surviving very well. And so I've spent the last 20 odd years trying to be a better me and, getting off drugs, not drinking alcohol, eating correct food, helping others, basically being working towards constantly being a better person.
Yeah, one thing you just mentioned was a little bit about your past and challenges you faced.
Yeah.
We share a very similar story as it relates to that. And Josiah has a question he wants to ask you.
Yeah. How can you share a story about a moment where you saw like that transformational breakthrough?
A transformational breakthrough. Well, I could say that that happened very recently. When I was 5 years old, something happened with some older boys next door to me, and that something was perverted. Okay, and then after that happened, because I was completely innocent, and after that happened, it was like, shh, don't tell anybody.
Wow.
Well, that incident had a huge effect on my life, and I got into, promiscuity and perverted activities. I'm not a homosexual or anything, but, that led to pornography and masturbation and all these types of things. And it's only recently that I went back to that specific moment where I was told that thing. And it's like the whole chain of events kind of blew. And I became free of that, where it's no longer has any effect on me or my thinking or my attitude towards life. And so that was definitely a transformational moment.
Yeah, when you share that, Tony, I commend you on being able to come out and share what's taking place. And you're absolutely right. And for some reason, why do you feel like when we've experienced childhood trauma, why does that bring about shame as though we did something wrong? If there's someone that's listening right now that may have experienced something but hasn't experienced the breakthrough or the freedom of the heart and mind, or looking at themselves, why do you think shame or guilt is connected to something that we had no control over when we were kids?
Well, the essence of a person is that he is a spiritual being, and a spiritual being is basically good. So, but in life, things always don't go correctly. You become, you become involved in some incident, and something happened, and you might have done something bad, or something bad happened to you, and of course that can then, have a huge influence on you. Now, of course, some people end up, with the local psychologist or the psychiatrist, and then they're told, well, actually, there's nothing you can do about it, and here you've got to take this drug for the rest of your life. Of course, we all know psychology and psychiatry doesn't work. It's all about, actually drugs at the end of the day. But a person really has a choice. They can also decide to be a victim for the rest of their life, or they can decide to educate themselves and study and learn and kind of, work out how to make themselves better. It all comes back to survival. The cat that's out on the street, that's all scruffy and hardly gets any food, and he's going through the bin. Well, he's surviving, but he's not surviving very well. And then there's this other cat that's living in this beautiful condo. It's got its own bed. It gets manicures. It gets the best food. Well, that cat's surviving very well. So at the end of the day, we're all actually given a choice. How well do we want to survive? And it comes back to the point of, what do we want to also be responsible for? When you can accept responsibility for something, it now puts you at cause rather than the effect of it.
A lot of what you're saying is super deep. There's a part of your story, and some of what you said I would agree with, and some of it we would end up having a further conversation on. But when I want to focus on today, and that would be true with almost any guest we end up having conversations with, what I appreciate about you is about the fact that there are things that happen to us inside of this life that had no fault for ourselves that's taken place. And there's things that at certain ages that we've done that at the same time, if we had the chance to do it all over again, we wouldn't do. So I feel like we have had experiences where we've both been the victim, and we've probably also at times victimized as a result of a lack of education, a lack of morale, a lack of social or emotional intelligence. There could be a ton of things there. There was one thing that you said, and then I'll get off this topic, but I do think it's important to ask. You said something happened, and then you got freed up from that. to me, that sounds like you experienced something. Is that true? And if so, what was that experience?
Well, this is pretty deep and it's pretty technical. So I'm going to have to explain it in a way that your listeners could understand. Okay. Certain things happen in your life, and then those things can have an influence on you for the rest of your life, but you don't realize how much they're influencing you.
For sure.
Okay, so now what is the definition of truth? The definition of truth is the exact time, place, form, and event something occurred.
Yep.
The definition of stupidity is actually the opposite of that. Okay, so when you can go back to a moment where you had the exact time, place, form, and event, it's like it dissipates. Because that's the truth of it. When you went back to this exact moment and you realized that this particular thing was the beginning of a whole chain of, a certain style of living or a certain way of dealing with things or handling life or whatever, it became your operating basis. But yet a lot of the things that you did were illogical or caused problems or got you into trouble. When you can recognize the source of that and go back to that exact moment, it then no longer has an effect on you.
Yeah. And so let me ask you this. Did you go through like a practice? There's one thing that is in the States called theophostic type counseling. And I'm not saying this is what you experienced, but I'm wondering if it was some type of experience like this.
Yes.
Where you, with a counselor, is that something where you go back to that memory, you ask the Holy Spirit or you ask God, this is how we do it. Hey, will you reveal truth and light? Theo being God, Fostic meaning light. So God's light on a memory in a moment in the past. Is that something that you went through and then you felt like the Spirit or God's presence?
It's something similar. Something similar. It's done with what's called an auditor. An auditor is someone who listens, because it's audio. And an auditor is a person who has perfect communication skills, and they ask very specific questions. And it's those questions that help you identify these areas where you have a lot of emotional upset and turmoil. So they don't have an opinion, they don't evaluate, they don't invalidate, they don't tell you what's wrong with you. You see, when a person themselves has the realization and the cognition of this is the thing at this moment, there's certain indicators. The person becomes very bright, they become very happy, and it's like a moment of truth for them. Now, we're really getting off. We could spend hours talking about this. Although we have different religious beliefs, the one thing that I think we both agree on is that we're a spiritual being.
For sure.
And we're not a body. We have a body like we have a car. So, for me personally, I've experienced being out of my body. So I know what it like. I know that I am a spiritual being. It's not because someone told me or I was told if you don't believe or else. I know for real I'm a spiritual being because I've experienced being out of my body with full perception.
Yeah.
So I know I'm a spiritual being.
Yeah. And there's a fact that you can't separate God's word from the fact that you can have outer body experiences. John, while on the island of Patmos, ends up saying, whether I was in the body or out of the body, I'm not exactly sure, but this angel took me to these different visions. So I do believe that biblically we have a base to share that, hey, there's some experiences taking place inside of our lives that we don't always understand, but it would seem that there's things that happen like that. Now, you did mention, so we're going to move from super serious to maybe having a little bit of fun. One thing that we noticed about your voice, the thing that I loved about meeting you first was that you have a phenomenal voice.
Yes.
Before the show, you were singing Josiah's song.
Right. Now, I thought that before we get into, too much business, and even though I'm really excited to talk about that, I thought we could go out back tonight. I thought we could not go to the steakhouse, but go to the Outback and ask some questions. And so, Tony, I got a question here for you. I'd like to know, what is your favorite Aussie slang word and what does it mean?
My favorite Aussie slang word. Well, I guess what I'm most commonly known for is g'day, mate. That is a typical Australian slang saying, g'day, mate. So, in Australia, everyone's your mate. So if I meet somebody and I've forgotten their name, I can just say, g'day, mate, how's it going? Or if it's someone even, quite higher up, someone of authority, I can say, g'day, mate.
Now,
and g'day is obviously short for good day. And in Australia, like, everyone's your mate. Even women, g'day, mate.
That's awesome.
hey, I know that for us in the States, what's common to say is if you don't know someone's name, you say, hey, buddy. It doesn't mean mate, and it doesn't mean good. It just means like, it's kind of like there's not a lot of positive emotion. Like if someone said, hey, buddy, good to see you again. We don't feel like that's endearment. And so good day, mate. Is that endearment?
Yeah. Oh, well, I mean, I guess it depends on how it's said. I mean, like there are people in my environment who are very, very senior to me and very, they have a lot of authority. Now, other people would call them sir or Mr. whatever their last name is as a sign of respect and endearment. But, I can actually get away with saying, g'day, mate. Because they know that I'm not being disrespectful.
Awesome.
Yeah.
Next question. What is the most Australian thing you've ever done?
The most Australian thing that I've ever done. Jesus.
Yeah, I'm assuming
does that involve a kangaroo or like a boomerang?
The most Australian thing that I've ever done is drunk a lot of beer.
You just threw a lot of people down under.
Drinking beer is kind of barbecue beers. I mean, that's pretty Australian.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. And then last question, what Aussie food should everyone try at least once?
Meat pie.
Meat pie. And wash it down with some beer.
Yeah, meat pie and tomato sauce, or a meat pie with a pea floater. So that's like mashed peas on top with the crispy lid with some tomato sauce. I mean, I loved that as a kid.
Yeah, we're gonna have to pull that up and see what that looks like. Is that something we can make in the States?
Yeah, you could. So it's like it's like pastry bottom, kind of like a round thing, and then there's like kind of like a mincy kind of sauce. I mean, in that sauce could be cheese, it could be mushrooms, it could be different things, but it's like a meat kind of sauce. It's got meat in it, but it's like a gravy. And then there's on top of that, there would be like mashed peas and then, the crispy pastry top and then tomato sauce. And it's actually quite tasteful.
I like it. My son actually had one question for you today, and he wants to know if there are dinosaurs in Australia?
Well, no dinosaurs. That there are a lot of animals in Australia. I mean, the most common spider, the most common household spider is called a daddy longlegs, and they are the most poisonous spider in the world. But their fangs are too small to penetrate your skin, so they live in all the spots around the house, under the house. There's spider webs everywhere. That's where the daddy longlegs are hanging out, and they're shaking on their legs, and they're the most venomous spider in the world. But they just don't.
They don't even know. They can't even do it.
Praise the Lord. Yeah. Now, if their mouths were a little bit bigger, we'd all be extinct. Is what I heard you say. All right, so let's get into the business. We got about 15 minutes.
Okay.
What do you do for people? Say it for those that are tuning in, that want to grow their business. What do you do for people?
Okay, well, the business is called Link Daddy. And what I do for people is I provide an affordable service where I create blogs, press releases, this type of thing, and link back to people's websites or their Google Maps to then help them rank higher in the search engines, so that when people go to Google or Google Maps and type in a keyword, then those businesses have a better chance of being found. That's what I do. I try to help businesses actually get found on the internet so that they get more customers. That's essentially what we do.
For blogs, press releases, for those that are unfamiliar with those would you give a quick snapshot for those that, like some of those that are trying to grow and scale a business? They understand relationships, they understand sales, they understand leadership, the services, the products, they even understand finances, but marketing might be something that they're very aware of. Could you help people understand what a blog, what a press release does, and then how that helps their local business?
So to simplify it, if your website is about pressure washing, which obviously I'm assuming most of them are going to be about pressure washing, well, there's going to be, a couple of different pages on that website talking about the different pressure washing services, driveway cleaning, roof cleaning, house cleaning, commercial cleaning, this type of thing. Okay. Well, now I might have a blog, and on that blog, I talk about, the importance of getting your house pressure cleaned if you're looking at putting your house on the market, because you want your house to look nice and clean and sparkly, right? So I write this article and have some pictures. And now I might mention, if you're looking for a good pressure washing company that's in Nashville, we'll check out Brown's Pressure Washing. Okay. And so now I'm linking back to your website, hence the term backlink. Okay. Now, a backlink is like a vote. So like in any election, the person with the most backlinks typically wins gets the most votes. They win the election. Well, a backlink is really the currency of Google. So the number of, different websites that are linking to your website that are relevant to your industry will determine often where Google is going to place you in the index. Because look at it this way: if we think of Nashville as a city, well, how many pressure washing companies are in Nashville? Well, every one of those websites, maybe there's 30, 40, 50 companies. Well, every one of those websites, those businesses is going to have a website. They're going to have pictures of, before and after pressure washing cleaning shots. They're going to have content about driveway cleaning, roof cleaning, house cleaning, this type of thing. Well, when someone's in Nashville and they type in pressure washing, well, Google has a problem. And the problem is this: that there's only one page one. And on page one, they can only fit 10 businesses, but there's, 60 pressure washing companies and they all have content about pressure washing. So out of these 60 companies, Google's got to decide, well, out of these 60 companies, which ones do we put on page one? Because we can't fit all of them. We can only fit 10. So that would tell you that Google is looking at more than just content. Because if everyone's got similar content, then they must be looking at other things to determine which website is most relevant for this search term when someone's in Nashville typing in pressure washing or driveway cleaning or something like that. Does that make sense?
Yeah. So you help people go from page 500th to page 321. Is that right?
Well, yes and no. I mean, if their website is correctly structured and they've got good content and it's unique content, it's not duplicate content, they haven't been stealing content from somebody else, it's actually unique content, then, they're going to need backlinks if they're going to rank, because a backlink is like a vote. And if they want to prove to Google, hey, we are an authority, well, they need more than just backlinks. They need branding. They need press releases. They need reviews. They need to be doing videos, because, I think it's the combination of all of these types of things then prove to Google this is a legitimate business, because unfortunately we live in a world where everyone's lying to us. The government's lying to us, the media are lying to us. There's scammers out there. So Google understands this, that people are also on the internet scamming and gaming the system. So, a real business is doing all of these things. They're not just whacking up a website and that's it. They're, getting reviews from their customers. They're uploading videos to YouTube. They're putting pictures on Instagram. They're doing Facebook posts. They're, responding to people's comments. They're interested.
Yep. So good. Yeah. And so you're saying that you can't do backlinks, blogs, and doing the work that you do, press releases, and expect to be ranked and neglect all the other valuable things that a business needs to be doing. But if you need a distinct advantage, maybe some steroids for your business, this would be something that would help rank and help support your business.
Definitely. I mean, because the reality is that you're not going to get to page one without any backlinks, because backlinks are the currency of Google. The number of referring domains linking back to your website is the number one ranking factor in Google. That is the number one ranking factor. Yeah.
So with these backlinks, they can be tied to blogs and like what Josh just said, all these other things. Are there any like organic or natural backlinks that just automatically occur with time?
Well, Google would like you to believe that you must create such good content that people are going to naturally link to your website. Well, if you're a travel blogger and you travel all over the world and you're doing reviews on different locations and different hotels and something like that, well, it's very likely that you're going to have people that are going to find and enjoy your blog and then naturally link to your blog. But if you're a pressure washing company or a pest control guy or a water remediation or a roofer or a plumber, chances are you also are not just an amazing content writer. You're not a blogger. You're very good at pressure washing. So it's very unrealistic that, Bob Jones, the pressure washer who really knows how to use pressure washing equipment and clean a house, well, he's probably not going to be writing amazing content every week or every month that people just go, oh my God, Bob's just such an amazing content writer and I've just got a link to his, content. I mean, it's unrealistic for a local business to get natural backlinks.
Okay.
And that's sorry, Josh, but that's why a local business, in order to get any traction, because when you think about it, if they're buying a franchise or something like that, they've invested some serious money into a franchise or the licensing of equipment. Well, then to believe Google that now they've got to write amazing content and wait for people to naturally link to them, I mean, it's just not going to happen. And so, at the end of the day, if you're in business, you have to be willing to do what other people are not willing to do if you want to be successful. And unfortunately, most people aren't willing to, and that's why 90% of small businesses go broke within the first year. They have the idea, I want to be successful, but they're not willing to do what it takes.
Yeah,
Not
those are
everyone's.
two things from what you said. First of all, if they are really good, if another home service business or company is doing a lot of the social media and posting and YouTube and blogs, there are guys out there who are great at writing it and doing that work, but their business is not a real business. And so I've seen people in our industry who teach, train, write books, but you go look at the business that they grew and it never scaled past $250,000, $500,000. And it's like, they're training everybody else. They're the experts. They're the ones that have books, but you look into their books and they've not scaled to over $1 million. And so that's one thing that I've noticed. Yeah, that's one thing I've noticed is that you can look good on social media and on blogs and different things like that, but you don't have the experience to actually lead anybody in growing and scaling a business. You might be able to get someone started or be a fan, but it's hard to do it, which is why we would encourage our listeners to get a book called Who Not How. It's one of the books that we looked at very early on. Mm-hmm. We as a company kind of ran Who Not How without reading Dan Sullivan's book, but we ended up learning that, hey, most businesses need a who, not to know the how. You don't have to know the how, you need a who, which is why you're on the show today. You're the who that knows how to do the work that these other businesses need to help them grow their business. If someone wants to get in touch with you or find out more about you, Tony, would you mind sharing a little bit about how they can get in contact with you?
Sure. Well, one way is through the website, which is linkdaddy.shop. The other way is to actually email me directly, tony@linkdaddy.com. Yeah. So any of your listeners could email me and say, hey, look, could you please have a look at my website and tell me what my website needs, because I don't know what to do. And so I will either myself or my assistant will respond and give them some suggestions as to what they should be doing. Because every website's different, every market is different. You can't have kind of like a one size fits all. Every website needs to be looked at individually. And, as far as giving your listeners some reassurance, I mean, I've been doing this work since 2015. I have 26 staff. This year, we've done $1.2 million in orders. And last year, we did $1 million. So we're actually up on this time last year. Wow. We're on Trustpilot, and we've got I think 80 something reviews, and 90% of those are 5-star reviews. And Trustpilot is legit because it's all integrated with WooCommerce. So that means when someone comes to our website and orders, Trustpilot sends them out an invitation to leave a review. And it's actually a review from a real customer, and you'll see it says verified. So unfortunately, Google reviews obviously can be gamed, and people are buying reviews, and so you don't really know whether it's a real review or not. So
that's good. So Tony, what I heard is if someone sends you a message at
linkdaddy.com, yeah.
.com, you will run is this free to run some analytics on their website and then give them
I'm going to have a look at their website. I mean, look, Josh, the bottom line is, I've always had the idea that I'm only as valuable as my ability to service others. You know, the reason why I have a business is not just so that I can make lots of money and, you know, I don't have a nice car. I don't live in a nice house. But, you know, this year I've donated close to $300,000 to, you know, helping my church build buildings, to, you know, put people through life improvement courses. That's the reason why I'm in business, is to try and help make the world a better place. So I'm here to service people. I'm here to help people. I'm not here just to make money. Money is the lowest form of motivation. Duty is the highest form of motivation.
That's so good. Now, we chatted a little bit about how you're using your business to make an impact while making an income. I heard you're giving away close to 25% of the revenue that's coming in to make a difference. Can you help our listeners understand what you're doing inside of the community, or what you're offering to help with making an impact while making an income?
Well, you know, if you look around, you know, the world is in pretty bad shape. And, you know, if you want to survive good in this world, well, the only way you're going to survive good in this world is if you also help others survive.
Mm-hmm.
And so, you know, your reason for being in business obviously is to have a profitable business, but you actually need a higher purpose. You shouldn't just be in business so that you can get a nice car and a house. That's not really why you should have a business, in my opinion. There are lots of people in the world who make money, and they're showing themselves off, and, you know, showing how great they are. But a lot of those people are very superficial, and they don't last very long. You'll find that the most successful people, the ones that are actually truly happy, because, you know, you can find a lot of people with lots of money who are the most miserable people on the planet. You know, I gather all of your listeners are Christians, right?
Well,
So
I'd say
a good percentage of them are. Well, look, you know, they have their business, and so they should take a percentage of their income and look at what could they do. Maybe they employ a whole heap of kids, and they you know, they run a cleanup day, and they go around certain areas in the neighborhood of picking up rubbish, and it actually gives young kids a sense of worth, you know, because there's too many kids just sitting in front of the idiot box, you know, mindlessly playing video games. They don't communicate with anybody, and they actually need to be out in the open, actually producing something, because production equals morale. When they're sitting in front of the, you know, the computer game, they're on a constant inflow. They need to outflow. They need to do something. Otherwise, they're going to go psychotic. And I'm sure there's a lot of parents around the world who are already experienced this, where their children are psychotic, and then on top of that, they're eating all the rubbish food with all the sugar and the gluten and the this and that. They just go crazy, you know, and the parents don't know what to do. Well, the best thing you can do is get people productive. And so if you've got a business and you're making money, well, then you kind of have a responsibility to make your community better, because you live in it. And if you don't do something to make that community better, well, the people that live in that community are going to end up robbing you, or breaking into your house, or stealing your car, or stealing your equipment, you know. So you've got to teach them ethics, you've got to teach them morals, and this type of thing.
Yeah, I appreciate you sharing that at the very end. It's something that we can tell that you're very passionate about. In the States, we have a lot of individuals that are Christian businesses, but they really do fail when it comes to the place of using their business to make an impact inside their communities. And so, you know, something we do is we wash widows' homes in Nashville for free, and maybe a few other things that we do to try to help and love and encourage and disciple inside of, you know, our Nashville network. But man, you're giving away such a high percentage. You really challenge me into evaluating.
I actually make more money because of it. You see, the thing is when you can give away $50,000, write out a check for 50,000 or write out a check for 100,000, well, you can then have that money. Do you see what I mean? So, when someone is hanging on to their $50,000 and they can't let go of it, well, they can't. That's because they can't have it. You see what I mean? And so they'll never really be successful. Like there's a man that I know called Sam Ovens, and he was, he was talking to me about a consulting course, and he said, like, if you're trying to sell someone a 9,000 consulting course, but you're only willing to spend $27 yourself, well, you'll never be able to sell that $9,000 course. It's the same as, donations. Like, some of the richest people, there's a book, God, what's the name of it? I can't remember the name of it, but like this guy went out and he was one of the top fundraisers in the world. And he went out and interviewed, the top 100 philanthropists who, give donations like 1 million, 2 million, this type of thing. And all of them, one for one, said, the more I give, the more I get back. And the reason why I'm successful is because I donate. I mean, even, like obviously we have different religions, but in every religion, there's the people who, are pretenders, and then there's the people who are the doers. So if you're in business and you're making money and you're calling calling yourself a Christian, well, being a Christian is more than just going to church and praying.
That's good.
You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
Jesus went out there and he helped his fellow man. He didn't just, pray. He went out there and he did something.
So,
And you know what I mean? And that's what we need. We need people who, because not everybody can confront being in a business. That's why people go and get a job. So, but if you're in a business, that's a really good thing, because you've got an ability to confront, and obviously it's a sense of responsibility. Now you're going to give other people a job. And then, so if your motivation is to help your church, to help your community, the money will just come naturally, because you have a higher purpose than just, I want to make money so I can buy a new car or something,
So good. Tony, thank you so much. We're going to close on that. Basically, and was that book The Third Door?
No.
Was it Go Giver?
No, it wasn't. It's like I can see the title and it's like on the tip of my tongue. I mean, I could run upstairs and get it, but
if you end up seeing it, do send it, and we'll add that into
I'll
the show
send you
notes.
an email and send you the name of the book. But it's very interesting. This guy interviewed these top donators, and obviously people give money for various different reasons. And when I get asked to donate, I just understand that my help is needed, and and the more I give, the more money I seem to make. I don't do any advertising, and all my business is referral or word of mouth, and we've done $1.2 million in sales.
Advertising, which is crazy. And then the reason I even heard about you is that, I felt very fortunate to learn about you, because other people would be selling your services as a white label, and being able to go straight to you ends up saving individuals a ton of cash. And so that's why I feel confident in offering your services to our community. And so we're going to wrap it up
Okay.
at this time. And until next time, peace.